Hi everyone, hope you're having a good night. I'm just getting my paints ready. For this painting, I'm going to be using two blues, a dark blue and turquoise. I have an ocean breeze, which is like an aqua. I have purple, I have dark green, yellow, orange, white, and yellow. Did I say that right? Yellow and orange. So lots of colors, but of course you can choose whatever color palette you would like. Maybe some beautiful orange, beautiful ocean colors. Let me just finish putting my paints out. So here's my ocean breeze, that color. It's just that like aqua, so like any color close to that will be perfect. And I have my turquoise, my dark blue. I'm just going to use a little bit of that for my mermaid tail. Some purple. Let's see. We'll do some dark green. Some yellow. I hope everyone's having a nice night. I need to paint. I need to get in the zone and relax a little bit. So I'm thankful and looking forward to painting with you. I also have a little bit of brown. So with my palette, I'm just using a paper plate. You could use a dinner plate and just put some tinfoil or saran wrap over it for easy cleanup. And I have a paper bag that I opened up and laid on my table just to protect it. Also, I have my paper towel. I have just a few brushes. I'm going to be using my big chip brush for my background, some big brush strokes tonight, which are fun. I have my detail brush, a round detail brush, and two flat brushes, two different sizes. What else do I have? I have my cup of water for washing, and that's about it. So in tonight's painting, here it is. I decided to use the quote, "Dive deep for the treasures that you seek." But you could do whatever you'd like, whatever, ocean themed quote, or you don't even have to put any words into it. But I think this is super sweet. Maybe it would look nice in a bedroom or a bathroom. And yeah, I'm using a 16 by 20 canvas. I'm using it vertical, but of course you could use it any direction, so play with that. Also in this painting, you can make your mermaid come in from the side or even maybe going up, whatever you'd like. So change or play with the placement of your mermaid. All right, so let me put you in this little thing and we'll get started. All right. Yay. Here we go. So this is a pretty one. I really love the colors and I love the little fish. They're super simple, but they're really cute. I love how they break up all that blue. All right, so I'm going to start. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm Jackie. Welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight. And I'm going to take you step by step through this painting here. I am using acrylic paint. Again, my colors, I have a few. Hi Nancy, I saw your, you sent me a message. I just haven't gotten to it, but I'm looking forward to seeing your basket of flowers, that painting, and I will do another video with the whale and adding a few more details. So thank you for that, and I will get to your message. Yeah, so when we're painting, if you have any questions or if you want to send me a picture and ask me a question about it, anyone feel free to do that. And tonight I have, hey Pa, I have a few different colors or a few different blues. I have, this is called Ocean Breeze if you're using Craft Smart. An aqua would be great, turquoise, I have a dark blue, I have purple, I have a green. This is Shamrock by Craft Smart. I have my yellow, orange, brown, and white. In this painting, really make it your own by choosing your colors. With the mermaid tail, you could do pinks and purples and oranges, or whatever makes you happy. In my background, I'm playing with two different blue colors. I'm using that aqua, and I'm using the turquoise with some white and allowing there to be lights and darks. a lot of movement in this painting, which is beautiful. Yeah, so let's get started. I am going to, whoop, hello, there's, what? Alrighty. So, I'm going to be using my big brush to start, and I'm going to be playing with my brush stroke. So, I'm going to do more of like a flip-floppy brush stroke to get some movement on my canvas. I'm going to be tapping directly into my white paint and then adding a corner into my turquoise and a corner into my ocean breeze. So tap on in, load it up. No drips, but you want it to move nice and easily. So load it up with the white. I'm using a corner ocean breeze, corner blue, or you could use two different blues or whatever you have that's kind of oceany. I did a kids event earlier today, a private event, and we did the ocean, and we used a blue and green combo, and it was really beautiful. So feel free to use that as well. So I'm already starting to have some beautiful colors mixing together, allowing there to be lights and darks. So again, tapping on into my white, corner into my blue, having both colors on at the same time. Hi Catherine, how are you? I haven't heard from you in a very long time. I hope everything is well, or haven't seen you in a long time. So I'm just kind of doing this flip-flop and just allowing my paint to kind of do what it wants to do. So kind of just mixing on there. And you're going to notice the more you kind of work on one area, the more it's going to turn into one solid color. So if I'm going kind of light pressure, just kind of moving that paint, flip-flopping my brush, and then moving on, I'm going to have those lights and darks. And that's what I'm going for in my painting. You may want a solid flat background, totally fine. I'm also holding my brush further down, like a pen or a pencil when I use my brush, just to have a little bit of control. So tapping on into that white, corner ocean breeze, corner turquoise, and I'm just continuing building my background. Tapping in. Now make that decision if you want to paint the sides of your canvas. If so, make a little note to yourself to continue bringing that on over to the side. And I tried to go, sometimes you can see a little bit of that canvas. You'll see a little bit of the canvas going through, and I'm just going to make sure I cover that. So I think it's called holidays when you're painting your wall. I learned that from my mom and dad for sure, painting in our house, but growing up. But yeah, no holidays, so no little, hey Justin, how are you? Thanks for joining. Whoop. I've been so clumsy lately. I don't know what's going on, but hey, that's okay. So I'm just going in big brush strokes. Oh, I'm really liking these darks and lights, and it's really looking like water. Really liking that. So I'm using an ocean breeze, I'm using my turquoise, I'm using white. I'm really allowing my paint to mix on the canvas. Playing with that flip-flop brush stroke, so I'm kind of going in all angles. And you'll notice, like I said a little earlier, that if I keep working one area, it will turn to one solid color. But I'm going for this lights and darks, the sunlight coming through that water, painting the sides if you'd like. Well, I'm really happy with that. So it's nice what just happens. It's like, yeah, I meant to do that, right? Funny. All right, that feels good. You know, take a step back, check it out, see what you want to add or change. Sometimes you just need to know when to put that brush down. Step away. I don't want to lose that part that I really liked. There we go. All right, there it is. Whoop, a little holiday right here. Get that. So playing with that amount of pressure, making sure we have good coverage, make sure you get all those corners. If you have your canvas in an easel, just make sure that you're getting underneath those little parts that hold your canvas in. Paint those sides if you're doing so. All right, cool. That looks, I'm really happy with that. So we're just gonna let that dry for a moment. And I'm done with this big guy, so while we let it dry, I'm gonna give it a quick wash. It's always good to take care of your tools. So once I wash it, I'm gonna lie it flat to dry. All right, that's all taken care of. So just letting that dry, and I'm going to start thinking about how I want my mermaid to be on my page. Do I want it coming in from the side, swimming across? Do I see any of her hair kind of coming from behind, or going behind her? That would be really pretty if you want to add that. We can kind of talk about that later. Think about the placement, think about the angle. How is she swimming? Mine's diving deep down. So I'm going to have mine going that way, but you could choose to do whatever you want. All right, nice. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start kind of mapping out our mermaid. I'm going to be using my long brush, and it's a long flat brush, this one here. It's just what I like to use for kind of drawing and getting in some nice lines with this brush. I talk about it often, about that ice skate edge, and here is my big flat brush that I used for my background, but just kind of show you, here's the edge, the bottom edge of my brush, right? So when I'm trying to get a nice thin line on my canvas, I want to think as that this is like a ice skate, right? So the bottom of my ice skate, here is the canvas or the ice, and I stand that ice skate right up, and all I do is slide on that ice, right? The more pressure, the bigger the mark. So think about that when you are using your brush. Always just kind of be aware of the amount of pressure, or how you're holding your brush. But let's get started. So I have my brush I'm ready to use to get some marks down to kind of set up my mermaid, and I'm going to be using some white paint. So my canvas is still a little bit wet, and that's great because it's going to give me the opportunity to kind of work it and figure out my placement, my size, all that. If you have a scrap piece of paper, maybe the paper on your table, it's a good idea to practice on there before going up onto your canvas, or you can just go for it. Also, one other thing is using that finger. Hi Auntie Pat, how are you? And just going ahead and using that finger and really planning out where and how big and all that. Proportion, keep that in mind. The tip of the tail to your the body of your tail of your mermaid. All right, well, let's go. So I'm dipping on into that white paint, and I'm going to wipe off on both flat sides. All right, and I was in a picture. Do you want her to go straight up and down, or is she kind of wiggling when she's swimming, right? I am going to think about how high I want to go up on my canvas. So once I kind of figure out, like, maybe let's look and see, where is this going to be? Where is this part right before the flipper part of her tail? Where does that go on your canvas? So I'm just going to picture it, and I'm going to say, yeah, that looks good right about here. So great, have that down. Now I'm going to think about, how is she kind of moving? Is it straight up and down? Is it curved? Think about that for a moment. Then go ahead and start kind of drawing it out with your finger. Now this line that we're creating right now could totally be like the center line, right? Or once you get it down, you can say, is it the left side, right side, or is it the center? All right. So we know this part here, it is right there. Now I'm just going to take a deep breath and kind of just figure out how her tail is going to be wiggling. And I'm just going to go down slowly, wiggle down, and then her torso, so I'm just going to go straight. Something like that. Just kind of go for it. See what happens. All right. I'm going to ask myself, is that the center line? Is that the left or right side of my mermaid? I think I'm going to kind of go for my center line. All right. So now I'm going to start building my mermaid. And how I'm going to go about doing that is down here where I have that center line. Let me just bring you a little closer to see. So I have this center line right here. And I'm going to make her little waist. And I'm going to think about how big her waist is, because that's going to determine how big the rest of her mermaid tail is going to be, right? Oh my goodness. Justin, thank you. Stop. Thank you very much, Justin. Thank you. And I'm going to just decide how wide I would like that waist to be. And with the waist, she's been working out, so she has this nice little waist like this, right? And I'm just gonna picture it, and knowing that this is like her backbone, say, right? And I'm going to just kind of make these two little kind of curves. So this is like her rib cage, and this is her waist. And now I know that this is going to be how wide the bottom part of my mermaid is going to be. So I am going to, it's so sweet. I'm just going to fill this in with a little bit of white just to kind of keep the placeholder, and also, or to kind of prime that spot, and also just so I can really see it. So that is her body, her torso. And now I'm going to think about how she is kind of moving in the water. So I know that her body is kind of curving this way. So I'm going to kind of pop out her hip here. So I'm going to start right from the edge. I'm going to bring it out. Now I can do this slowly. If you're like a little nervous about this, start smaller and then work out. So you can continue to kind of put a mermaid tail inside of the mermaid tail almost. So I'm going to bring it out like this, and let's kind of just bring it in, just to kind of get that down. Just see, we'll step back, we'll see if that's further enough out, or if we need to do any adjustments. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to give her a little hip. This one's a little smaller because she's kind of pushed out that way, right? And so I'm going to give her a little hip. I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go right close to it. So it kind of this like funny little, it looks crazy right now, and that's okay, because that's what painting's all about, having all these kind of, you know, hard and almost, you know, ugly stages, and we work through them. So this is one of those stages where I'm just going to keep going. I know this isn't the final paint, my final piece. This is just part of the journey of the painting. So looks crazy, keep working. All right, so I have that going on. Now I'm going to think about the thickness here. So goal is to start getting thinner and thinner and thinner until I get to let me just show you over here. So I kind of have this so far, right? So now I'm going to finish off this thickness. Of course, it's getting thinner as we go. So let's take a look over here. All right, so I'm going to bring this out. And yours is going to be a little different, right? Practice on your paper first. Take a deep breath. Just kind of working it. All right, starting to like that. Remember, I'm trying to get a little bit closer as I go. That feels good. I'm going to just, while I'm here, let's prime that. And by priming it, I'm just filling it in with that white. And it's just going to help get the right shape. And also, it will really make my mermaid tail colors pop later. And start thinking about what colors you'd like your your tail. Maybe some pinks and purples, orange, maybe gold. I'm going to be doing a purple, dark blue, and green. And then I'm going to have some yellowish gold accents for my scales. All right, that's coming along. Cool. All right, so now this tail part. So keeping in mind, all mermaid tails are different, right? So yours might have some like curly little decorative parts at the tips, or it might be really big, or they might be smaller. So all mermaid tails are different, but I'm going to show you how to make this one here. So let's see. I'm going to continue with that white, and I'm going to go out, so almost creating a slight angle out. All right, and now I'm going to continue this one out, stop, do the same thing over here, out, turning it up kind of. All right, and now I'm going to make kind of like a little V right here. And I will get those decorative tips in a moment, but for now I'm just going to kind of curve it, and then I'm going to bring it up. So I'll let you go ahead and do that. There it is so far. I'll add some more decorative parts to it in just a bit. Now I'm just going to kind of look back. All right, I think I want to bring this down just a little bit. Step back, check it out. All right, and let's see. Maybe wiggle it a little bit more over here. Really take a moment, step back. Oh my goodness. Justin's thank you, Justin. Jeez. Thank you. Wow. It's, you know, I thank you. I don't even know. All right, that feels good for now. And maybe let's go ahead and make a few little bumps. Just kind of decorative. Maybe you want to do little points. I'll keep it like that. So she's a little bit more straight up and down. She was a little bit more wiggly on this side. That's okay. Awesome. All right, very cool. All right, so we're gonna let her dry for a little bit and let's work on our background. So I'm really wanting to show a lot of movement in this background here. So what I'm going to be doing is, Kristen, yes, definitely do this on your day off. This is a really pretty one. And if you need any supplies, please let me know. And thank you so much for sharing. So I'm going to start creating these movements in my water, and I'm going to play with my white, I'm going to play with the turquoise, and I'm also going to play with that ocean breeze. And when I was talking about using that edge of your brush, right, using that ice skate, I'm going to do that with this here, with these lines. Now, this is when you have to just kind of relax into it and just go for it and be daring, right? Because there's no right or wrong to this. It's just kind of like breathe into it and make these lines, and it's gonna be perfect. All right, so I'm gonna stand my brush up, and I'm just gonna start doing these kind of curved lines, and they can kind of crisscross. And now one other thing I'm going to say is that you want to slow down, because you might get excited and just want to get these lines in. Slow it down. You want to be mindful, but you also want to let it just kind of come out, but just be patient. Be patient with your lines. Take a step back, maybe add a little bit more of one color. I'm just going to do maybe 3 or 4 lines here. That looks cool. Let's see, maybe like one more. Here we are. Awesome. All right, I'm already really enjoying how this is coming out. I like making these marks. I love the colors in this painting. All right, maybe I'm like, ooh, maybe that's a little too dark right there. That's okay. Just go ahead and maybe do a second coat or let it dry. Remember when you're painting, especially with acrylic paint, if you want to change something, you can grab a piece of paper towel, wipe it out. You can wait for it to dry completely before adding a second coat to cover it. I just don't suggest keep layering your paint while it's wet because it's going to just get muddy. And it's almost like just putting Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids when you have a cut, right? That's not going to work. That's not going to help. You want to take it off and put a new Band-Aid on, right? So we want to take off that, wipe it out, let it dry, and then go ahead and do your next layer. So just going in, just kind of making some movement in my water. I'm going to kind of do one that's going to come from the top and swirl down. Going behind her. Nice. All right, let's see. And behind. A few there. And also just let your canvas tell you where it wants another line. And we always can add more. Just going to do a few. And again, when we're painting, I like to say that painting is like making cupcakes, right? So when you're making cupcakes and you have flour in your bowl, that's not a cupcake, right? So you have to go through all the steps before you can have the final. So just kind of enjoy each step. When you're painting, I find that it's really helpful to take a photo with your camera on your phone and just look at it. For some reason, your phone kind of tells you things that your eye doesn't see when you're just looking at it. All right, that feels good. Something like that. Cool. All right, I like it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start introducing some bubbles. And my bubbles are going to be very simple, but I want lots of different sizes. So I want big ones, I want little ones, I want ones that are half off my canvas. That's to say that there's more beyond the sides of my canvas, and also I want to play with the color. So I'm going to sort of bring you a little bit closer to this finished painting here and just show you how simple but how effective once you step back these little circles are. So they're just using the same colors as my background. I'm just going to create maybe a little bit lighter, so with white, with whatever color, and I'm going to create these little circles. And I'm going to play with different sizes. So if you look at this one here, can you see that? So this one here is like like super close to that background color, but we'll put a little highlight in that it looks, I love this one here. So it's like very close to the background color, but I still see its form. It's beautiful. So I'm going to continue adding just all these little, stop. Oh, thank you. Keep going, adding these bubbles. So let's go ahead on this painting here. It's so funny when, like, you know, things are getting tough or you're having a bad day and how things end up working out. So I'm very, very grateful. Justin, thank you so much. And I'm grateful for everyone that's watching tonight, just to be doing something, you know, normal, something I love, sharing with others, and, you know, not being alone. Even if I am standing here in my kitchen alone, I'm with you and sharing something I love, and that makes me happy. So thank you, and truly made my day. So let's go ahead and continue making our circles. So I'm going to play with different sizes, and I'm going to grab a smaller brush. So if you have another brush, which, you know, I do say, you know, when I'm painting, each painting has its own favorite brush. You know, maybe in one painting I'm like, oh, I would never use this brush ever. And then I pick up and do, if any, you know, whatever brush feels good for each painting. So I'm just going to go ahead and just take my time. Now you could add 5 bubbles, you could add 50 bubbles, and these bubbles are just round circles that are, I'm filling them in. And if you're like, oh my goodness, how am I going to get this round shape? There's a few different ways we can go ahead and make our circles. So continue filling yours in here and there. One thing I suggest, different sizes and stagger them, right? We don't want any order. Just let these bubbles kind of go where they want to go and play with size. And we're playing with white. We're playing with our background color. So I'm just going to leave it here for a second. I'm going to show you how I go about making some circles. So here's just some different sizes and our colors. And you can do a few different different ways. So when I'm making my circle, if I'm making, you know, a pretty big circle, I could go ahead and like kind of draw the outline of it and then fill it in. Or I could put my brush down and kind of give it a slight spin. I find if I use less pressure, you see that? So less pressure, using the tip of it, slowing it down. So, you know, it seems like, you know, for kids to sit and practice making our circles, but once you master your simple techniques, circles and lines, thin, all different kinds, using your tools, right? Then you can do all the crazy, fancy things that you want to do with the paint. So just take your time. Find a way to make your circle that feels good for you, right? All right, we have some circles to do. Playing with the background color, playing with different sizes. Maybe you want bright white ones. Maybe you want them to be barely there. I'm going to go in and put some highlights, which we'll do later, in my bubbles here and there. Also, put them on top of those lines. Those lines are just kind of like the current, right? It's just kind of the movement of the water. So these bubbles can definitely go right on top. Just going around. Grabbing maybe your detail brush, get a few smaller ones in. I won't put them all of these in because we'll be here for a while. And so that being said, when we're painting, we can stop, take a break, pick it up the next day, you know, so don't feel as though you have to get every part of it completely finished. I mean, sometimes you need to have your first layer down to do your second one, but you know, for something like the bubbles, you always could add more in later. I'm gonna try to get a few smaller ones in. Maybe using a round tip brush might be kind of fun. Let's try it out. So I'm using just like my straight background color, kind of like in that. Let's do a few more on this side. Maybe using the back of your brush, doing a few little guys, tapping. You can get a little wiggle on them. Put your back of your brush down and kind of just wiggle it out. Ooh, I kind of like that. Nice. Maybe there's going to be one that's half off. Again, suggesting that there's more beyond our edge of our canvas. There it is. Cool. So I would do that on this side too, but I won't. We'll just go to our next step. So you can keep doing those or wait till a little bit later to add some more. I think that looks great. All right, so I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna add like my first layer of skin tone to my mermaid. I am going to play with brown and white, and I'm going to kind of put brown, white, kind of get the whole thing in, and then I'm going to add a little bit of definition by adding a little bit darker on the sides and lighter on the front, which will create a little flat and then drop that side back. So we have the side of us and then the front to give a little bit more depth into our painting. So I'm going to just give my my long brush a quick wash wipe. All right, here we go. So I have that on there, and maybe, you know, my torso, she's kind of long. Maybe I could see like her seashells for her top on there. That might be kind of fun or pretty to add. So, you know, sometimes when you do things a little, you know, I made this one a little longer. It's an opportunity to add something else into my painting. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have white on my brush. I'm going to add some brown. So I have two colors on there. You can give it a quick wipe on your side of your plate to kind of just, you know, help mix it just a little bit. And I already have it all mapped out, or I can always make any adjustments to it now. And I'm just going in. And you can get as light or as dark as you like. I might have to add a little top to this one. That'll be kind of pretty. Maybe some purple shells. All right, so I have that kind of oh, I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna add some more brown right now. I have my brown on my brush. I didn't do anything to it, but I did add some more brown, and I'm going to go right on top of my wet brown paint here. And what that's going to do, it's called wet on wet, and I'm just allowing that paint to kind of mix together. But now look at that. I have a side, or and then I have that flat front, and now I'm going to have the side over here. It's going to go back. So we're setting that back. Now, is there a little bit of a shadow being cast from her top of her tail onto her tummy? If so, I'm just going to go right along that edge. Just right down there. I'm going to get lighter here, so I don't mind just kind of going in, blending that out. I'm going to add a little bit of white. And I'm thinking about like her, like the muscles, right? They run kind of right down parallel, like right here. Whoop, hello, I got some blue in there. That's okay. So let's get some white and some brown. I'm going for a little bit lighter and trying to get that blue just wants to keep going in there. And you know what? I'm going to just welcome that little bit of blue because she is underwater, right? So, all right. Now I can go back in with a little bit more of that darker brown. And there. Maybe I will add that top, her little shells poking from there. All right, that looks good to me. I'm gonna add a little belly button, which is just a little like dash. Yes, enjoy dinner. Have a good night, Justin. Thank you. So nice. And I'm gonna make a little dot, a little belly button right there. And I think that looks great. All right, now for some fun. Let's let colors marble together, mix in here on our tail. I'm gonna work with my brush stroke, kind of just following the shape and curve of my tail. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my white grit, my bigger brush, just because. Maybe I'll give my long brush a quick little wipe and wash just so it's ready for me. But let's start thinking about our tail. I'm going to play with dark green. I'm going to play with blue, and I'm also going to play with purple. And I'm just going to let it all kind of marble and work together and create a really cool effect. So let's go for it. Let's do this. So I'm going to start maybe with some green. And I'm just going to add that. And we're going to think of this as like almost like a patchwork. So I'm going to add a little there, maybe a little here. Just being mindful of the edge. Of course, I can kind of change things a little bit. And maybe I will add a little bit of my dark blue. And you always can try maybe adding some white, seeing what happens. I'm gonna add some purple. And while I'm filling this in, right, and I'm allowing them to kind of blend into each other, and you could be using pinks and purples and oranges or whatever colors make you happy. But I know that once this dries, I can go back in and lay more color on top. So maybe this is like our first layer, right? And I'm just getting the coverage down. I'm just kind of playing and seeing what the colors do together. Again, I'm going to let them just marble, and I will have the opportunity to add a second layer later. So maybe start thinking about, you know, do you have like a quote for the ocean that you love? This one just spoke to me, and I really liked it, but there's all kinds. You can just Google it, or if you have one that you know and love. Saw one that said like, be a mermaid, make waves, you know, my happy place, whatever feels good. Or You don't have to add any words at all. And I know I'm going to have the opportunity to lay other colors or more green or more blue here and there. So right now I'm just getting that base down. All right, so I have my first layer of color for my tail, and now I'm going to go ahead and start focusing on the fin part. And I'm going to grab my green, and I'm going to focus on this bottom edge, and you can do this any way you like, but I'm just going to go ahead and focus on the bottom here. And now I'm going to switch over to my purple. And I'm going to add a little bit of white. And I am working on a smaller spot. And if I needed to or wanted to, I could totally grab a smaller brush. I think I'm okay for the moment, but I might switch to my smaller brush. So just, you know, when you're painting, just say, is this the right size brush for the area or what I'm trying to achieve, right? Because you don't want to make things harder for yourself. You want it to be nice and easy. I'm just focusing here. So I'm going for this like light purple edge, green. Maybe I'll even add some of that blue. Again, this is probably my first layer. I will add another later. That feels good. Why not add a little bit of that dark blue just to, ooh, I don't know what color I got in there, but I like it. All right, that feels good. First layer down. Awesome. So we just pull back, kind of see what's going on. All right, I think it looks good so far. It's funny how by just adding some dry brushing and some scales really makes it pop. So my first layer I'm happy with, but I know I want to add a few things, change a few things, make things a little brighter here and there. But for now, that looks great. I think I am going to add maybe a little bit of like a shell top for my little mermaid. So I just picked up a different size brush, a smaller one, and I'm just going to add just 2 bottom parts of her bathing suit top, and I'll show you what I did. And this is just my first layer. I'll add a second and maybe add some little lines for like the texture of my of my mermaid. I told you I've been very clumsy lately. I don't know what's going on. Alright, so if you notice down there, I just added 2 little curves, and that's going to be like the bottom part of my bathing suit. So that looks good to me. Yeah, super clumsy. Not quite sure why. Alright, so I'm going to start building or adding my fish, and they're really simple and they're cute. I'm going to show you on this blank canvas real quick, and here we go. So I'm just going to show you over here. I'm talking about these little fish here, and I have some going one direction, some going the others, and they're just placed all over, and they're small, they're not big. But of course you could do all different colors, you could do different fish. I'm going to stick to these little guys. These are going to be her friends. So I'm going to make kind of like a big one, and then we'll do it all together. And I'm going to start with just kind of like a circle, just like our bubbles. So there is the body of my fish. Now using my detail brush, or whatever brush feels good, use your detail brush, and it's round, I'd roll that on the side, getting it nice and sharp and getting the extra paint off. And now I'm going to go ahead and add its little mouth or face, and I'm just using a little triangle. Just little, tiny, doesn't have to be big. And then the tail. So my tail, I'm going to do 2 lines going out. You could leave it like that, but my fish here, I'm just going to go connect and fill in. I'm also going to add maybe a little bottom fin popping right out, whoop, just like that. And then he has like a top one, and this can be long or it can just be little, but kind of just right on up like that. So circle, triangle, 2 lines out, connector, and then those little tiny marks for his fins. Let's do it one more time, big, and then we'll go to our canvas. All right. So circle, triangle for the mouth. I'll go this way this time. Little triangle. Let's do his little tail. 2 lines. Connect it. Fill it in. Then I'm going to add that top fin and the bottom, thinking of how it's curving. Just like that. Perfect. All right, let's make 500 of them now. Just kidding. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I have 15 or 16 of them on that painting. You can do however many you'd like. I'm going to start with yellow, and then I'm going to add some orange details to them. So these are small, made up of just a few shapes. So I'm going to play with the direction of what they're facing, right and left. They can overlap a bubble. They can overlap any of that movement in the water. I'm going to do one right here, starting with a circle. You could do white and yellow. You could do pure yellow. You could do any color combination you like. This guy's going to go this way, so I'm going to make that little point triangle for his little face. His tail, which are 2 lines going out. I'm going to connect them. Fin on top, fin on the bottom. Let it dry. Continue on. Just adding your circle. And you know, if we were painting together, I'd totally bring out that glitter. And our painting would be totally covered, right? Someday. And again, if you need supplies, just let me know. Alright, just a whole bunch of little fish going all over. You could have them all in like a little school, all coming in on one side. You can kind of have them all throughout. I kind of like how they're all just kind of doing their own little thing. Top. Bottom. Let's do one more together, and then of course you can continue on adding those. You can do them now or you can do them later. Once we're done, I will repost this so you can rewatch or rewind, and if you wouldn't mind, and if you know someone actually that you think would enjoy this, share or send to them. That'd be wonderful. Alright, so there's a couple. You can continue on doing all your fish all around. As many as you'd like. Now let's go in and add some detail to our to the bubbles. So you could get you could add highlights and in reflection and all that. You can get really detailed, or you can say, well, you know, I don't really want those to be like the main focal point. My mermaid is, and maybe those little fish, and then the bubbles. So maybe just a slight little reflection or highlight. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some white to my detail brush, maybe adding a little bit of the background color, and then all I'm going to do is just hit here and there a little curved dash. You don't have to do them on all, but just here and there, and it kind of gives a little bit more of a round feeling of reflection, more bubble-like. And if you're like, ooh, maybe that one's a little too dark, go ahead and just change it. Now that it's dry, I can go in, change that bad boy right out, let it dry, and if I feel like it, I could add that reflection. Maybe if one's really close to a fish, maybe there will be like a little bit of yellow in it. That would be cool. All right, nice. Let's go in and add some more detail to our tail. So I'm going to grab that long brush again. Let's see. So stepping back, I really noticed that maybe I want my flipper, my tail, end of my tail to be a little bit bigger. This one is a bigger, and I kind of like it. So let's go ahead and just take a step back and see, what has to happen. What do you need in your painting? I'm going to try to bring this out just a little bit more. See what that does. And, of course, kind of just think about it for a moment. But go for it, Why not see what it does? All right, yeah, I think that's what it needed. It was like something was a little funky. So I'll let that dry for a little bit, and then I'll hit it back with some more color. But now that I have my base coat, now I'm going to go in and kind of just hit here and there with more intense color. If I like, or if I like how it looks, then let it be. So maybe this summer we could do some outdoor painting together. That'd be nice. Just going in. Maybe adding a little bit of white, and I'm just gonna let it kind of mix in. And, step back, see what you're liking, what you're not liking. You have a blow dryer, you always can kind of hit it with a blow dryer real quick. All right, nice. Focus back up on the top. Hey bud, how are ya? Adding a little bit of that dark green. So remember, you can take your time adding all your bubbles, adding all of your fish. We'll go back in and add some more detail in just a moment. But don't feel rushed. Take a snack break, step away, come back in the morning. All right, I like the way that feels. So I'm going to go ahead, let that dry. Now I'm going to go back to my fish. I'm going to grab my detail brush, and I'm just going to make very, very freely. I'm not going to think too much of it. I'm just going to add a few stripes of orange in my fish. You could totally add eyes and details to the fins and all that, but I think that just these little lines are perfect. And I'm going to, you know, some of them are going to have 4 or 5, some of them are going to have 2, kind of whatever the fish wants, right? So I'm going to use that tip. You can kind of have them curved, you can have them straight. It can be polka dots if you like. Just adding. When you're using your detail, I hold it nice and long like a pen or a pencil. Sometimes we hold it further back, but for this, I'm going to hold it lower. And I'm also going to roll it on to the edge of my plate, sharpening that tip. And then if my hand is clean and my background is dry, I can put my hand right on there. Awesome, just like that. And I can add any more detail to my fish that I like, but I'm just going to leave it just nice and simple, just like that. All right, so now into our detail of our tail. So I'm just going to give my brush a quick little wipe and wash. Take a sip of my tea. All right. And now we can go ahead and start working on our tail. So I chose to just do a few scales here and there rather than doing the whole thing. So kind of where she's bending, maybe her scales are kind of like popping up, which creates me being able to see those scales, right? I'm using yellow and I also use some white. On my tail part, on the fin here, I just kind of did some like, kind of following the curve of the tail. I used yellow. I can also use a little yellow and white, whatever feels good. So my little marks are just little curves, little like frowns or little rainbows, and they're kind of staggered like bricks almost. But you can kind of play and practice on your table or on your paper to see how you want kind of like the pattern to be. Like I don't want the same amount of scales here and there, like same like stamp, maybe you do, but just kind of plan it out how you want them to kind of placed and how they want them stacked on your tail first. So here we go. Getting that yellow, rolling it. I'm going to start and I'm going to use the tips of my bristles and kind of just add maybe 3, maybe 1 more. So I find that the end kind of, the next one, almost the middle is like right at that end point. See that? So let's do some over here. 1, 2, 3. So my end of my rainbow is kind of intersecting the middle of the next one. That feels good. 1, 2, put 1 in the middle. Every once in a while, step back, see what's happening. Are they all kind of the same size? Are they different sizes? Are they different colors? I'm going to do a good amount down here. Thinking about how I'm using my brush. Am I using that point? How much pressure? Just like that. Step back, check it out, see if you want to add some more. I think I'm going to add a few white ones. Maybe down here. I think I like that. Maybe a couple on this side. So if you have some glitter, totally add it. And if it is glitter paint, you want to make sure that your canvas is dry and your paintbrush is clean when you're adding your glitter paint. All right, I think that looks great. So at this time, I'm just going to kind of think about what words, if I want words, if I want to add anything else. Of course, you know, I would add all my fish, all of my bubbles, all throughout, different sizes. My fish are different directions. I added some detail to my fish of just some little simple stripes. I'm happy with my, oh, we forgot our tail. Let's go back to that. But I added some of my, my scales on my mermaid. Let's do the lines on our tail. So I'm going to do, let's try some yellow. Let's see what happens. Maybe yellow and white. But I'm just going to use the tips of my bristles. And if your paint is getting a little tacky or drying out at all, just add a drop of water into that little puddle of paint you're using and give it a nice mix. Of course, you don't want drips, but sometimes it helps with the fluidity of your paint by just adding a little bit of water. No drips though, unless you want them. So something like that. Maybe some white in that. Let's see. Oh yeah. I'm going to do one right down straight the middle. Cool. Do I want like any kind of like part where the tail meets that? I think I do. I think I'm going to do a little bit of the dark blue and maybe add something like that. Yeah, I think that's what it needed. Cool. Maybe I'm going to add a second coat to her top down here. And then in our shell, we may have some like lines. I had a big shell somewhere, but I must have moved it. I'm going to add a little bit of white, sharpen that tip by rolling it, and then I'll just do a few little lines up and down. Just showing that if you were to touch the shell, it has those little bumps. But I think that looks great. So when you're adding words to your canvas, right, it's very different than using a pen or a pencil when you're using a paintbrush. My tip to you is to practice with the paintbrush on a piece of paper, on a, you know, an old piece of cardboard, anything, just to kind of practice to get used to using your brush in that way. Also, I just talked about adding a little bit of water, but I totally would suggest that for moving your brush when you're writing. So I'm going to use turquoise and ocean breeze for my words, and I just dip my brush into the water, and maybe I'll scoop up some of that paint, and I'm just going to put it over on the side, and I'm going to add another little drop. Just giving a quick little mix, rolling it. And then I'm going to really think about the placement of my words, right? Where do I want them? How do I want them set on my paper? I'm also going to use my finger and just kind of practice each word so I know how much space I need, right? I pictured it. I maybe made a rectangle on my piece of paper and drew real quick little tail in, and then put the words on to just find that placement. So once I really just took a minute, it really helps by planning this. Then I can go in and get nice and comfy. Maybe put your canvas flat or hold it in your lap. We added a little bit of water to our paint. It's not going to drip, but it's going to move nicely. And then I'm just going to take a deep breath, and I know, and I'm not going to worry about my handwriting, but I'm just going to go for it and take my time, really picturing it and spell checking. I always get carried away and forget letters. Maybe going in and adding another color on top. And I would just go ahead and write all my letters in there. Going back, adding any little details I'd like. Definitely signing our initial in the bottom right hand corner or wherever makes you happy in whatever color makes you happy. But I think that's really pretty. Let's just take a moment and maybe we can see some of her hair coming up. Let's just add another little something to this. So maybe her hair's, she's swimming down, so her hair's going back. So maybe she has pretty red hair, orange hair. I'm holding my brush further back. I could remember our canvas is not stuck in one spot, so if this isn't comfortable, you could hold it, move it, turn it. Let's see what that looks like. That's cool. I like that. So, play, see what else you can do. If you have any questions and you're like, I'm stuck on this, I did this, and I'm not quite sure what to do about it, feel free to send me a message. You can send your picture of your painting if you want me to give you a little bit of a critique or suggest anything to it. Yeah, please do that, and just, really plan out the placement of your words, plan out how long, how much space they are, practice writing on your paper, add some sparkles to this painting because it is beautiful and would look really great with sparkles. We would definitely do that in the Kreativ studio. But yeah, I had fun. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you had a wonderful day, and I hope you have a great night. I hope to paint with you soon. Thank you so much for all your support during this time and just being creative with me. So thank you, my friends, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Bye.